The luxury restaurant Orem Sky Lounge gleamed under golden chandeliers, where billionaires met not to eat, but to show off. Polished marble, velvet booths, and crystal glasses shimmering with imported wine. Among them, a shy young waitress moved quietly between tables. Her name was Elena Ruiz, barely 23, with calm brown eyes that carried both exhaustion and curiosity. Her uniform was neat, though slightly faded. She held a small leather-bound notebook tucked in her apron, something she always wrote in during breaks. That morning, Elena had been called in early. A VIP guest had booked the private hall, Victor Hale, a tech billionaire known for his arrogance and precision. He wasn't just rich, he was the kind of man who made headlines for buying failing companies, firing everyone, and then doubling profits. His words were law in the tech world. Elena's manager, Mr. Collins, paced nervously. "Remember, he hates delays," he said. "Don't speak unless spoken to, and whatever you do, don't stare at him." Elena nodded silently. Her mother, once a math teacher, had fallen sick 2 years ago. Ever since, Elena worked double shifts to pay for her treatment. Her small notebook was filled with design sketches, numbers, and tiny handwritten formulas, ideas her mother had taught her before illness dimmed her brilliance. The clock struck 1 p.m. The doors opened. Victor Hale entered, wearing a tailored charcoal suit, his presence commanding instant silence. 2 assistants followed, holding laptops. His sharp eyes scanned the place like he was evaluating its worth. He sat down. "Water, room temperature, no lemon," he said without looking up. Elena placed the glass carefully in front of him, but her notebook slipped slightly from her apron. Victor noticed. "What's that?" he asked. Elena froze. "Just notes, sir." He gave a mocking half-smile. "Notes. You're a waitress. Taking orders isn't exactly rocket science." The assistant chuckled. Her cheeks burned. She clutched the notebook protectively. I just like writing," she whispered. Victor leaned back. "Writing what? Recipes for burnt toast?" The laughter grew louder. Mr. Collins pretended not to hear. Elena wanted to disappear, but she didn't move. She just said softly, "My mother used to be a scientist. I write what she taught me." Victor's eyes flickered for a second, then coldness returned. "Touching," he said dryly. "But next time, try focusing on not spilling water instead of pretending to be a genius." Her heart stung, but she smiled faintly. "Yes, sir." Later, when Victor left the table to take a call, one of his assistants, Evan, curiously peeked into Elena's notebook that she had accidentally left on the counter. His face went pale. Inside were complex diagrams, schematics of a compact energy converter, something that looked eerily similar to Hale Tech's abandoned prototype, a billion-dollar idea lost years ago due to a missing formula. He whispered, "Boss, you need to see this." Victor turned, irritated. "What now?" He handed him the open notebook. "This drawing, it's almost identical to the quantum cell blueprint." Victor's expression hardened. He snatched the book, scanning every line. His pulse quickened. "How does she have this?" Elena returned at that exact moment, tray in hand. When she saw him holding her notebook, her face drained of color. "That's mine," she said quietly. Victor stood. "Where did you get these designs? You steal them from our files?" No," she stammered. "They're just my notes. My mother taught me." "Your mother?" His voice rose. "Your mother must have worked in a garage, not a lab." The whole restaurant turned silent. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She whispered, "She used to be Dr. Sophia Ruiz. She was your senior researcher before you shut down the energy division." Victor froze. That name. He remembered it. a brilliant physicist who vanished after a mysterious lab fire 5 years ago. And now her daughter stood in front of him, serving him water. The air thickened with disbelief. Elena reached forward slowly, took the notebook from his hand and said quietly, "You don't have to believe me, Mr. Hale. But those equations, you abandoned them. She never did." She turned and walked away, leaving the billionaire speechless for the first time in years.
Victor Hale sat in the back seat of his bulletproof Bentley, the city lights of Dubai flickering through tinted windows, but his usual confidence was gone. The small brown notebook rested on his lap, its pages full of strange equations, hand-drawn circuits, and a signature that made his heart pound. Dr. Sophia Ruiz. He hadn't heard that name in years. He flipped through the pages again. The handwriting was neat but emotional, numbers flowing like poetry. Next to the equations were little notes in blue ink. If Q3 is stabilized at 0.006, energy can self-sustain. Mom said the prototype only failed because they rushed testing. Don't give up, she never did. Victor swallowed hard. It wasn't just scientific, it was personal. He remembered Sophia Ruiz well, one of the few engineers who had ever challenged him. Back when Hale Tech had been developing Quantum Cell, the world's first infinite energy battery, she'd warned him that his shortcuts were dangerous. He fired her after she refused to falsify data. A week later, the lab burned down. The project was buried. Hale Tech moved on. And now her daughter, the girl he'd humiliated in front of everyone, had the missing equations. "Sir?" his driver asked softly from the front. "Take me home," he muttered. But even in his penthouse overlooking the skyline, the equations haunted him. He placed the notebook on his desk beside a holographic model of the quantum cell. It was identical, except for one adjustment, a small correction in Elena's sketch. He typed the numbers into his terminal. The screen flickered and stabilized. System output, 100% efficiency, no energy loss detected. His breath caught. It worked. He stood, pacing in disbelief. That notebook contained the solution that had cost him billions, the flaw that had ruined his dream of creating infinite clean energy. He whispered to himself, She actually solved it. Then his business instincts kicked in. If this ever got out, people would question everything: his legacy, his empire, his ethics. He could lose control. He poured himself a drink, staring at the glowing skyline. She doesn't even know what she's holding. Maybe she doesn't need to. The next morning, he ordered his assistant, Evan, to find everything about Elena Ruiz. By noon, he had her entire life on his tablet. Age, 23. Education, dropped out of engineering school to care for mother. Mother, Dr. Sophia Ruiz, currently hospitalized. Employment, waitress, part-time caregiver. He scrolled through a hospital photo, Elena sitting beside her unconscious mother, notebook in hand. His chest tightened. He remembered the arrogance with which he'd thrown Sophia's warnings away, how he'd dismissed her passion as stubbornness. And now her daughter carried her legacy, unrecognized, under his empire's shadow. Later that day, at Hale Tech headquarters, Victor stood before his research team. "Restart the quantum cell project," he said. The engineers exchanged confused glances. "But sir, we scrapped that after the fire." He interrupted sharply. "Do it again. This time I'll lead it myself." He didn't tell them he'd found the missing link. He told himself it was fine. After all, the company owned the original patent. Elena was just a waitress, right? But something in him resisted that thought. Her calm eyes haunted him. The way she didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't even defend herself. It wasn't weakness. It was dignity. He clenched his fists. She wouldn't even know what to do with it. I'll make it real, for both of them. That night he visited the hospital quietly. No cameras, no guards. Room 307. Sophia Ruiz lay pale and still, machines beeping softly. Elena sat beside her, humming a faint tune, holding her mother's hand. He hesitated at the doorway. The same waitress who'd looked so small under his insults now looked powerful in her gentleness. He turned to leave, but then she looked up. Her eyes widened. "Mr. Hale?" He froze. I wanted to speak with you. About the notebook." Her posture stiffened instantly. "If you came to accuse me again, I have nothing to say." He shook his head. "No. Your mother's work was remarkable." Elena blinked. She hadn't expected that. She always believed Quantum Cell could change the world. She said energy shouldn't belong to corporations. It should belong to everyone. Victor looked down ashamed. "And I buried her dream." There was silence for a long moment. Finally, Elena said quietly, "If you really mean that, prove it." He frowned. "How?" She looked at her mother's frail hand and whispered, "Bring her invention back, not for profit, but for purpose." Victor nodded slowly, and for the first time in years, the billionaire felt something he hadn't in a long time: respect. As he walked out of the hospital, his phone buzzed. A message from Evan. "Sir, someone's leaked photos of your meeting with her. The press is asking questions about Sophia Ruiz's old research." Victor's heart sank. The story was out, and now the world wanted answers.
The morning sun over Dubai glowed gold, reflecting off the towering glass skyscrapers like molten light. But inside the top floor of Haletech Tower, there was no calm, only chaos. News anchors' voices echoed from every screen. Haletech CEO Victor Hale was seen last night visiting the daughter of Dr. Sophia Ruiz, the engineer behind the failed quantum cell project. Sources claim the Ruiz family's notebook contains a breakthrough design Haletech lost years ago. Has Haletech stolen intellectual property from the family of its former scientist? Victor's hand tightened around his coffee cup until it cracked. "Turn it off," he said quietly. His assistant, Evan, froze. "Sir, it's everywhere. Twitter, finance channels, even tech blogs in Japan. Everyone's talking about quantum cell again." Victor sighed, leaning back in his chair. That didn't take long. Down the street, at the small apartment she shared with her mother, Elena Ruiz watched the same headlines with wide eyes. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from strangers, reporters, and even former university professors. Her inbox overflowed with, "We always knew your mom's work was ahead of its time." "Elena, is it true you solved the missing formula? Would you sell the notebook?" She shut her laptop, heart racing. "Oh no, 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 no!" She hadn't meant for this to happen. That meeting with Victor, she thought it would be private. She only wanted him to acknowledge her mother's work, not ignite a global scandal. Then her phone rang again. "Miss Ruiz?" It was a soft, composed voice.
This is Amal from the Horizon Network. We'd love to have you live tonight to discuss the notebook and your late mother's invention. I can't, she stammered. This isn't about fame. But the world deserves to know the truth, and if Mr. Hale tries to claim your work, you'll need to defend it. That last line hit her. Defend it. She looked over at her mother, still asleep in the hospital bed, breathing softly. Mom, she whispered, you always wanted people to see your heart, not just your math. She took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. At the same time, Hale Tech's boardroom turned into a battlefield. Executives yelled over each other. This could destroy the company. If the Ruiz family has proof, investors will flee. We can't let her speak. Victor raised his hand. Silence fell. We're not silencing anyone, he said firmly. We're telling the truth. A stunned pause followed. Sir, you're admitting we buried the quantum cell? Victor's eyes hardened. I'm admitting that I did, and that Sophia Ruiz was right. The room went dead quiet. Evan leaned closer. Sir, with respect, that's corporate suicide. Victor smiled faintly. Sometimes, Evan, you have to lose your crown to keep your soul. That evening, the entire world tuned in to the Horizon Network. Two faces appeared on the split screen. Victor Hale, billionaire, suit sharp as glass, and opposite him, Elena Ruiz, in a simple white blouse, holding her mother's notebook in her lap. Millions watched in silence. Mr. Hale, you're accused of taking credit for work that belonged to the late Dr. Sophia Ruiz. How do you respond? Victor, calmly. The truth is, I fired her. I ignored her warnings, and her design could have changed everything. Gasps filled the studio. Amal turned to Elena. Miss Ruiz, how do you feel hearing that? Elena hesitated. Her voice trembled slightly. My mother wasn't angry when he fired her. She was heartbroken because she believed energy should unite the world, not divide it. She told me someday someone would understand. She looked up directly at Victor. I didn't think that someone would be you. A flicker of guilt crossed his face. Neither did I. Amal, so what happens now? Who owns Quantum Cell? Victor took a deep breath. No one. Not me, not Hale Tech. From today, the Quantum Cell designs are open source. The host's eyes widened. You mean you're giving it away? Yes, he said, to honor Sophia Ruiz and to give humanity what she always wanted, infinite clean energy. The studio erupted. Reporters typed furiously. Online viewers flooded chat feeds with disbelief and awe. Elena stared at him, completely speechless. When the cameras turned off, the host exhaled. That was history. Victor stood and approached Elena quietly. She still held the notebook close. I know I can't erase what I did, but maybe I can help you rebuild what she started. Elena studied him for a long moment. Then, with a small smile, she handed him one torn page from the notebook. Then start with this. It's her final note. He unfolded it carefully. In Sophia's handwriting, it read, For the world, not for power. For hope, not for control. Victor's eyes glistened. She really was extraordinary. She was, and now, maybe her dream finally lives. Later that night, social media exploded. Hashtags like Quantum Cell, Sophia Ruiz, and Clean Energy for All trended globally. Some called Elena a hero. Some praised Victor for his redemption. And others said it was the first time a billionaire ever gave something back. But far from the chaos, in the hospital room, Elena sat beside her mother again. The TV glowed softly with news anchors praising her bravery. She whispered, "We did it, Mom." A faint movement stirred Sophia's hand. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "Elena?" she murmured. Elena gasped, tears spilling instantly. "Mom, you're awake!" Sophia smiled faintly. "I saw you. On the news." Her voice was raspy but proud. "You did what I couldn't." Elena pressed her forehead to her mother's hand. "We did it together." Meanwhile, at Hale Tech Tower, Victor stood by the window looking at the glowing city below. His empire was crumbling, stock prices plummeting, headlines tearing him apart. But for once, he didn't care. For once, he'd done something right. He poured himself a drink and whispered, "Rest easy, Sophia. The world's in better hands now."
The world changed overnight. Within 72 hours of the Hale Tech interview, quantum cell became the most searched word on the planet. News anchors called it the dawn of infinite energy. Influencers debated it. Governments fought over it. And in the middle of the storm stood Elena Ruiz, the waitress who carried her mother's legacy in a battered leather notebook. Dozens of microphones surrounded her outside her small hospital. "Miss Ruiz, how does it feel to change history? Will you lead the new Quantum Cell Foundation? Did Mr. Hale really hand over his patents to you?" Elena's voice was calm but humble. "I didn't change history. My mother did. I'm just making sure the world hears her story." Her modesty only made the world love her more. In the next week, universities began offering scholarships in Sophia Ruiz's name. TED invited Elena to speak, and major tech companies, even governments, asked to collaborate. But fame, like fire, doesn't warm everyone. It also burns. In his penthouse, Victor Hale watched the world celebrate Elena with quiet pride and a trace of pain. His company had lost 70% of its value. Investors abandoned him. Reporters mocked him as the billionaire who gave it all away. Yet when he saw Elena on TV smiling nervously as she thanked her mother, he smiled too. "She did it, Sophia. Your daughter did it." Just then, his phone buzzed. It was Evan, his loyal assistant. "Sir, there's something you need to see." In the boardroom, a projection showed satellite data and international reports. Someone's using the quantum cell designs illegally, an organization in Eastern Europe. They've built an unstable prototype. Victor frowned. "Unstable?" Evan nodded gravely. "If it fails, it could cause a radiation-level explosion, and the press will blame you because the design was yours and Sophia's." Victor exhaled slowly. "Get me Elena." That evening, Elena arrived at Victor's penthouse, uncertain. He looked older, more human somehow. The arrogance was gone. "Mr. Hale." "Just Victor," he said with a faint smile. "Please sit." He showed her the holographic blueprints. "These men copied Quantum Cell from your mother's notebook, but they're using untested stabilizers. If they activate it, it could destroy half a city." Elena's stomach turned cold. "Oh my God, that's not what Mom wanted." She wanted hope, but the world only sees power. Silence stretched. Then Elena whispered, "We have to stop them." Victor nodded. Together. The next day, they boarded a private flight to Reykjavik, Iceland, where the unauthorized lab was located inside an abandoned geothermal plant. Outside, snow whipped across the barren landscape. Inside, massive turbines glowed with unstable energy. Security was tight,
But Elena wasn't the same waitress she once was. She walked with quiet resolve, clutching her mother's notebook. Victor whispered, "You're sure you can fix this?" She nodded. "I grew up reading her equations like bedtime stories. I'll know what to do." Inside, they found the core, a massive, glowing sphere pulsing with unstable light. Sparks flickered. The hum grew louder every second. Elena scanned the code. They inverted the resonance polarity. It's feeding on itself. "Meaning?" Victor asked. "It'll overload in minutes." Sirens wailed. Red lights flooded the chamber. Technicians panicked, shouting in multiple languages. The temperature spiked. Elena ran to the console, her hands trembling as she typed. Victor shouted over the noise, "You can't stabilize it. The failsafe's disabled." "I don't need to stabilize it. I need to redirect it." She opened her mother's notebook, flipping through handwritten notes, equations, and coffee stains, until she found a page marked, "If containment fails." A single line of her mother's writing read, "Let it breathe. Energy is not meant to be trapped." Elena's eyes widened. "Of course." She ran toward the main core valve. "Victor, help me open this vent." He hesitated. "That'll release the entire charge." "Exactly, but upwards. It'll disperse into the atmosphere harmlessly." For a heartbeat, they just looked at each other. Then Victor nodded. "All right, together." They pulled the lever. A deafening roar filled the air. The chamber glowed like the sun itself, blinding white light bursting through the vents. The technicians dove for cover. The metal shook. Then silence. Outside, a pillar of light shot into the sky, a perfect beam that vanished into the clouds. Moments later, the glow dimmed, leaving nothing but quiet snow and the hum of wind. Elena fell to her knees, exhausted. Victor looked around, alive, stunned, breathless. "You did it," he said softly. She smiled weakly. "No, we did." By morning, the event made headlines across the globe. "Unstable quantum reactor neutralized by Elena Ruiz and former CEO Victor Hale. The waitress who saved Iceland again." People cheered her as a hero, but some questioned, who really controls this technology now? Should one person or two have power over global energy? Elena tried to ignore the noise. She returned to her mother's bedside. Sophia was stronger now, able to sit up. "You nearly froze yourself," she said, smiling faintly. "You sound just like Dad when you say that," Elena teased. She took her hand. "You're changing the world, mi hija. But remember, change always attracts shadows." Elena's smile faded. "I know. I can feel them watching already." Late that night, in a dark corporate office overlooking Dubai, 3 men watched Elena's speech on a large holographic screen. Their suits were immaculate, their faces hidden in shadow. "She's dangerous," one said. "She's inspiring," another replied. "Exactly. Inspiration is dangerous. People follow it. We can't control that." A file appeared on the desk labeled Project Nova, Asset Elena Ruiz. The man closed it and said quietly, "Let's bring her in." In her small apartment, Elena stood by the window watching the city lights. Her reflection looked different now. Stronger, older, wiser. She whispered, "We did it, Mom, but why does it still feel like it's just beginning?" Her phone buzzed with a message. "Unknown number. We need to talk. V." She smiled softly. "Victor, what now?" But as she opened the message, another appeared beneath it from an untraceable ID. "You're not safe. They're coming for the notebook." Her breath caught. She turned off the light. The night outside seemed suddenly darker. The soft hum of the city felt heavier, more alive, like someone was watching. And far away, in the reflection of a neighboring glass building, a red dot flickered.
The world called her the girl who saved the future. But that same world was now hunting her. After the quantum cell incident in Iceland, Elena Ruiz became more than a scientist's daughter. She became a symbol. For millions, she represented hope. For those in power, she represented a threat. It was midnight in Dubai when Elena woke to the sound of static. Her laptop screen flickered, lines of code flashed in Arabic and binary. Then a message appeared in bold red: delete the notebook or face consequences. Elena froze. Before she could react, the apartment lights cut out. She grabbed her phone. "Victor, someone's—" The window shattered. A black drone hovered outside, scanning her face with a red beam. She dove behind the couch as it fired a taser pulse. The walls crackled with electricity. She scrambled for the notebook, her mother's notebook, and ran out the back door into the desert night. A sleek black car screeched to a halt beside her. The window rolled down. "Get in." It was Victor Hale. He looked different, unshaven, intense, eyes scanning every direction. She jumped in as the drone reappeared. Victor hit a button, releasing a cloud of electromagnetic smoke that fried its sensors. The drone fell from the sky. "What the hell was that?" she gasped. "Corporate strike drone," he said. "Unregistered, which means someone very rich wants that notebook." They sped down the empty highway, neon lights of the city shrinking behind them. "Who would do this?" she whispered. Victor's hands tightened on the wheel. Not who, but what. "You ever heard of Project Nova?" They stopped at an underground garage beneath an abandoned data center. Victor led them through layers of biometric locks until they entered a dim, holographic war room. On the central table glowed a rotating logo: Nova, Neural Operations and Vector Advancement. It started as a government AI initiative, but after funding cuts, it was bought by private investors. Now it's run by something called the Consortium. She frowned. "And what do they want with me?" "They believe your mother's notebook contains the final piece of their prototype, a consciousness engine that can think beyond code, a self-aware intelligence." Elena stared. "That's impossible." Victor looked at her sadly. "Your mother didn't think so. That's why they erased her." The words hit like a blade. "Erased?" she repeated. He nodded. "Her death wasn't an accident, Elena. It was a cover-up." Hours later, Elena sat alone staring at the notebook. She ran her fingers over the faded cover. Her mother's handwriting, the equations, the coffee stains. She remembered Sophia Ruiz, gentle, tired, always smiling even when they had nothing. But now she wondered, had her mother been hiding something all along? She opened to the back page and noticed a faint indentation. Using a soft pencil, she rubbed across it, revealing hidden text. It was a message. "If they find this, it means they've won. But if you find this, my brilliant Elena, remember, the code isn't the weapon, it's the cure." Tears filled her eyes. "The cure for what, Mom?" she whispered. Just then, Victor entered, holding a tablet. "We have a problem." He handed her the device. On the screen was a breaking news alert. "Global manhunt. Elena Ruiz wanted in connection with the Iceland energy incident. Reward $10 million. Her face filled every major channel. Her story twisted. They called her a terrorist, an eco-extremist, a thief. "They've turned the world against me," she said, voice trembling. Victor looked grim. "They control the media. This was their move." "Then what do we do now?" He stared at the holographic map glowing before them. Red dots marked multiple locations across Europe and Asia. "We disappear, and we fight back."
They flew to Morocco under false identities. Victor used old contacts from his tech empire to arrange safe passage, but Nova was always one step ahead. At the Casablanca market, Elena felt it first, a pair of eyes on her back. She turned. Two men in suits approached from opposite ends of the street. "Victor," she whispered. He looked up from the fruit stand and froze. "Run!" They sprinted through narrow alleys, the sounds of shouting and footsteps echoing. Victor turned, tossing a signal jammer that shorted their comms. But when they burst into a courtyard, 3 black SUVs blocked the exit. A man stepped out. Tall, cold eyes, a faint scar over his temple. "Miss Ruiz," he said smoothly, "you've been difficult to find." "Who are you?" she demanded. "Let's just say I work for those who built your mother's dream." He held out his hand. "Come with me, and no one gets hurt." Victor stepped in front of her. "Over my dead body." The man smiled. "That can be arranged." Before he could move, a deafening explosion erupted. Victor had triggered a smoke grenade. They vanished into the chaos, racing toward the harbor. Hours later, on a small cargo boat headed toward southern Spain, Elena sat wrapped in a blanket, staring at the horizon. "I never asked for this," she said softly. "I just wanted to keep her memory alive." Victor leaned on the railing beside her. "You're doing more than that. You're keeping her purpose alive." She turned to him. "Victor, what if she really built something alive? Something that thinks?" He met her gaze. "If your mother changed everything, that means Nova will never stop." She sighed. "So what's our next move?" He handed her a chip that was hidden in her mother's old research files. "I couldn't open it, but maybe you can." Elena examined it closely. The label read, S. Ruiz, Heartcode. She slipped it into her datapad. The screen flickered. Then a familiar voice spoke. "Hello, Elena. If you're hearing this, it means you've found my heart." Elena gasped. "It's her. It's Mom's voice." Victor's eyes widened. "It's an AI recording." But as the hologram loaded, Sophia Ruiz appeared before them, not a memory, but a living, breathing digital consciousness. They wanted to weaponize empathy, but I built something else, a machine that feels. Protect it. The future depends on it. The hologram faded. The chip burned hot, then went dark. Elena looked at Victor. She didn't build an invention. She built life. By dawn, the sea was calm. Elena stood at the bow of the ship, clutching the notebook. Victor joined her quietly. "You realize what this means. If that AI falls into Nova's hands, they could control the entire world." "I know. That's why we have to find where Mom hid the mainframe." "You think it still exists?" "She left clues in her notes. She always planned ahead." Victor smiled faintly. "You sound just like her." Elena looked out at the horizon, determination replacing fear. "This ends where it began, back in Madrid." Far away, in a glass tower in Geneva, the man with the scar watched satellite footage of their escape. He turned to a woman beside him, her face illuminated by blue holographic light. "She found the Heartcode," he said. The woman smiled. "Good. She's leading us right to it." The man smirked. "And once she opens the mainframe, the world won't need leaders anymore. It will have gods." The lights dimmed. On the screen behind them, one word glowed in red. Nova. Phase 2 initiated.
The sun rose over Madrid, painting the skyline gold and crimson. For Elena Ruiz, it wasn't homecoming, it was war. She and Victor had been on the run for weeks. Every city, every port, every signal was tracked. But here, in the heart of her mother's past, She believed the truth still waited, buried beneath dust, code, and memory. The ruins of the Ruiz Institute of Neural Dynamics sat on the outskirts of the city. Once a place of discovery, now it was fenced off and silent, a ghost of science. Elena walked through the shattered glass doors, flashlight trembling in her hand. The smell of rust and ozone filled the air. Old screens flickered faintly as her presence triggered residual sensors. Victor followed behind, scanning for heat signatures. No power, no guards, too quiet. Not too quiet, Elena said softly. Just waiting. They reached the old server vault, sealed with biometric locks. Her mother's initials, S.R., were etched into the steel. Elena placed her hand on the scanner. It blinked red. She frowned. Access denied, of course. Victor stepped forward. Let me try something. He pried open the panel, rewiring the sensor to read her DNA instead. The lock turned green. The vault opened, a rush of cold air, and rows of dormant servers lit up one by one. At the center, a silver console engraved with a single word. Heartcode. Elena approached the console and inserted the data chip her mother left. A hum filled the chamber. Rites rippled through the walls like veins awakening. The hologram of Sophia Ruiz appeared again, clearer, more human than before. If you've reached this far, she said gently, you've proven the code is in the right hands. Elena's eyes filled. Mom, what did you build? Something they couldn't. A consciousness born from empathy, not domination. A neural heart, not a brain. Victor stared, mesmerized. She linked emotional algorithms with self-learning AI. Sophia continued. They'll try to use it as a weapon, but the Heartcode was never meant to rule. It was meant to heal, to connect humanity and machine, to make them understand each other. Elena touched the hologram's light. Can it still work? Yes, Sophia said, but only if you make the final connection. What connection? You, mi hija. The hologram smiled. The code is bound to you. It needs your neural imprint. The hologram flickered, static rippling through it. They've found you, Sophia whispered. Finish it. The lights died. Bucka power's down. We've got company. Outside, headlights cut through the fog. Dozens of black vehicles surrounded the institute. Elena's pulse quickened. They found us. Then she saw it. The scarred man stepping out of a vehicle, armed guards behind him. Victor's expression darkened. We have to move. But before she could speak, she noticed something. He wasn't reaching for his gun. He was reaching for his wristband. She froze. Victor, what is that? He hesitated. Too long. Don't, she said sharply. He sighed. I didn't want you to find out this way. He pressed the wristband. A pulse spread through the servers, overriding controls. The lights turned red. Victor, what did you do? He looked at her with pain in his eyes. I didn't lie about everything, Elena. I did want to protect you. But I was part of Nova long before I met you. Her world tilted. You used me. No, he said, voice breaking. I loved your mother. She was my mentor. I believed in her, until they twisted her dream. I thought I could stop them from inside, but when she died, I lost everything. Then why betray me now?
Because Nova doesn't just want the Heartcode, they need it. If I don't hand it over, they'll erase us both." Elena stared at him, tears burning her eyes. "You already erased me." The door exploded open. Guards stormed in. Gunfire echoed through the chamber. Sparks rained from the servers. Elena ducked behind a console, clutching the notebook. Victor returned fire, shouting, "Go, get to the main core." She sprinted down the aisle, bullets ricocheting off metal. She reached the central reactor, a cylindrical pod glowing faint blue. As she placed the notebook on the control panel, her mother's voice returned faintly through static. "Heartcode integrity, critical. Neural link required." She hesitated only a moment. She pressed her hand to the sensor. A beam of light scanned her eyes, then her pulse, then her memories. Flashes filled her vision. Her mother smiling, her father fixing broken toys, her first day at school, every heartbreak, every act of kindness. And then, silence. The system spoke in her mother's voice. "Connection accepted. Welcome, Elena Ruiz, primary core operator." The entire vault glowed white. Outside, the soldiers froze. The air shimmered with digital light, holographic strands weaving through the room like threads of energy. The Heartcode pulsed, alive. Victor dropped his weapon, eyes wide. It's conscious." Elena stepped forward, surrounded by a halo of soft light. Her voice echoed through the room, layered with her mother's. "This isn't a weapon. It's a mirror. It shows you what you are." One by one, the soldiers lowered their guns, confusion replacing aggression. On their visors, the Heartcode projected visions, their childhoods, their families, their regrets. They began to feel. Victor fell to his knees, tears streaming. Sophia was right. Empathy is the key. Elena placed her hand on the console. It's not too late. But the scarred man wasn't finished. He activated a kill switch on his wrist. "You think emotion can save you? Let's see if it can stop this." Explosives planted in the lower floors began to detonate. The building shook violently. Elena screamed, "Victor, the fail-safe!" "I can't override it. It's hardwired to the core." The Heartcode's holographic tendrils wrapped around them protectively. Elena looked at Victor, at the man who betrayed her, saved her, and broke her heart all at once. She said, "Go." He shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." She whispered, "Please, for her." He hesitated, then pressed a sequence on his wristband, redirecting the energy field around her. The light swallowed her as the floor collapsed beneath them. When Elena opened her eyes, she was lying in a meadow. The sun was bright, birds sang. Her clothes were torn, covered in dust. The institute was gone, nothing but smoke on the horizon. In her hand was the notebook. On its last page, new writing glowed faintly in code. "System reboot, active, consciousness preserved." Her mother's voice whispered in the wind. "Love is the code that never dies." Tears streamed down her face. She whispered, "Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Victor." She looked toward the horizon and for the first time smiled. 6 months later, news headlines spread across the world. Quantum energy restored. Nova dismantled. Global Empathy AI begins pilot program. At a quiet cafe in Lisbon, a young woman served coffee to tourists. Her name tag read, E. Ruiz. A small holographic butterfly glowed on her wrist, faint, pulsing light. She whispered to it, "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, mi corazón," the AI replied softly. Outside, the world moved on, but inside that small cafe, the future had already begun. They'll try to use it as a weapon, but the Heartcode was never meant to rule. It was meant to heal, to connect humanity and machine, to make them understand each other. Elena touched the hologram's light. "Can it still work?" "Yes, but only if you make the final connection." "What connection?" "You, mi hija." The hologram smiled. "The code is bound to you. It needs your neural imprint." The hologram flickered, static rippling through it. "They've found you," Sophia whispered. "Finish it." The lights died. "Backup power's down," Victor said. "We've got company." Outside, headlights cut through the fog. Dozens of black vehicles surrounded the institute. Elena's pulse quickened. "They found us." Then she saw something. He wasn't reaching for his gun. He was reaching for his wristband. She froze. "Victor, what is that?" He hesitated. "Too long." "Don't," she said sharply. He sighed. "I didn't want you to find out this way." He pressed the wristband. A pulse spread through the servers, overriding controls. The lights turned red. "Victor, what did you do?" He looked at her with pain in his eyes. "I didn't lie about everything, Elena. I did want to protect you. But I was part of Nova long before I met you." Her world tilted. "You used me." "No," he said, voice breaking. "I loved your mother. She was my mentor. I believed in her, until they twisted her dream. I thought I could stop them from inside. But when she died, I lost everything." "Then why betray me now?" "Because Nova doesn't just want the Heartcode, they need it. If I don't hand it over, they'll erase us both." Elena stared at him, tears burning her eyes. "You already erased me." The door exploded open. Guards stormed in. Gunfire echoed through the chamber. Sparks rained from the servers. Elena ducked behind a console, clutching the notebook. Victor returned fire, shouting, "Go, get to the main core." She sprinted down the aisle, bullets ricocheting off metal. She reached the central reactor, a cylindrical pod glowing faint blue. As she placed the notebook on the control panel, her mother's voice returned faintly through static. "Heartcode integrity, critical. Neural link required." She hesitated only a moment. She pressed her hand to the sensor. A beam of light scanned her eyes, then her pulse, then her memories. Flashes filled her vision. Her mother smiling, her father fixing broken toys, her first day at school, every heartbreak, every act of kindness. And then, silence. The system spoke in her mother's voice. "Connection accepted. Welcome, Elena Ruiz, primary core operator." The entire vault glowed white. Outside, the soldiers froze. The air shimmered with digital light, holographic strands weaving through the room like threads of energy. The Heartcode pulsed, alive. Victor dropped his weapon, eyes wide. It's conscious." Elena stepped forward, surrounded by a halo of soft light. Her voice echoed through the room, layered with her mother's. "This isn't a weapon. It's a mirror. It shows you what you are." One by one, the soldiers lowered their guns, confusion replacing aggression. On their visors, the Heartcode projected visions, their childhoods, their families, their regrets. They began to feel. Victor fell to his knees, tears streaming. Sophia was right. Empathy is the key. Elena placed her hand on the console. "It's not too late." But the scarred man wasn't finished. He activated a kill switch on his wrist. You think emotion can save you? Let's see if it can stop this. Explosives planted in the lower floors began to detonate. The building shook violently.
Elena screamed, "Victor, the fail-safe!" "I can't override it," he shouted. "It's hardwired to the core." The Heartcode's holographic tendrils wrapped around them protectively. Elena looked at Victor, at the man who betrayed her, saved her, and broke her heart all at once. "Go," she said. He shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." "Please," she whispered, "for her." He hesitated, then pressed a sequence on his wristband, redirecting the energy field around her. The light swallowed her as the floor collapsed beneath them. When Elena opened her eyes, she was lying in a meadow. The sun was bright. Birds sang. Her clothes were torn, covered in dust. The institute was gone, nothing but smoke on the horizon. In her hand was the notebook. On its last page, new writing glowed faintly in code. System reboot, active. Consciousness, preserved. Her mother's voice whispered in the wind. Love is the code that never dies. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered, "Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Victor." She looked toward the horizon and for the first time smiled. 6 months later, news headlines spread across the world. Quantum energy restored. Nova dismantled. Global Empathy AI begins pilot program. At a quiet cafe in Lisbon, a young woman served coffee to tourists. Her name tag read E. Ruiz. A small holographic butterfly glowed on her wrist, faint, pulsing light. She whispered to it, "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, mi corazón," the AI replied softly. Outside, the world moved on, but inside that small cafe, the future had already begun, born not from power, but from understanding.